That Jumbo Joe fight where he pulls out a chunk of his beard. It's like, I've never seen that in hockey before. Welcome to the Leafs Power Dump, February 7th edition, episode 4. Gentlemen, on this week's show, we have a very special guest.
Today we have Tim Smythe-Bishop joining us, who hails with me from the home of the Wellington Dukes, hometown hockey, but he also inexplicably cheers for the Vancouver Canucks. So it's a perfect time to invite a Canuck fan on because, man, can we just keep playing that team? Like, we got one
Yes,
more
please.
time this week. Can we just keep playing them?
I knew Tim Bishop when he was just Tim Bishop. Now Tim Smythe-Bishop has grown up, a sad and lonely Vancouver Canucks fan in Toronto, but I still befriended him. I would argue that he's a better co-ed ball hockey player, in my opinion, than he was a forward or defenseman in our previous beer league hockey team on the ice.
Should we bring him in so he can hear all this?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then here he
Sure.
comes.
Hey,
Hey. Good
All right.
morning.
how's the dump this morning?
Powerful. Makes it
As usual. Total clear out.
Yep. Super power dump.
What's he wear? What you sporting? What jersey you
I
sporting?
decided to come in as the UN.
Oh, well played. Sir.
Oh,
Well played. That is
not
sharp.
bad.
That is sharp.
That's
nice.
nice move. Yep.
I was just saying, Tim, I think that you're probably a better co-ed ball hockey player than you are an ice forward switch to defense player, in my opinion. But and that's not a bad thing. I mean, co-ed ball hockey is exhausting. So
It is.
welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Paul. That means a lot coming from you.
We've been playing for a long time, you and I, right?
I know. Back in the day.
Where can you possibly begin with how things went with this 2-game swing so far with the Vancouver Canucks in Toronto?
I'll throw the first shot. 12 goals.
What's going on in Vancouver?
They just have absolutely no defense.
Yeah.
Kind of not to compare the two teams in any shape or form, but it kind of reminds me of Leafs like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And they've got their Morgan Riley back there with Hughes, but there's no one else.
Yeah.
When you're relying on Myers and Edler as being your two enforcement guys in the back, that's not good. So it would have been really smart of them to actually go out and get a defenseman instead of Holtby, and then just use Demko and somebody else just to back up that kind of.
Was it Edler that was a pretty good spectator a couple times on those goals? It was sort of like, and here's your pathway to the net, sir. If you just like to do whatever you want when you strand our goalie, go ahead.
It's like providing color commentary from the edge of the key.
Yeah. But they were smiling and waving at them as they went by. That's for sure.
Nice body language from Holtby there, eh? On the Matthews goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to feel bad for both of those minders, man. I mean, like you look at Demko, he's got the same save percentage as Freddie does, but he's been shelled and he's only played 8 games.
I like Brent. I like Holtby. I think it was a good pickup. I mean, sure, he's probably on the downside a little bit of his career, maybe, but he's a solid goaltender. But there's no help at all.
Why did they bring him in? Did they bring him in to train somebody, Tim, or is that or is he supposed to be their guy to get him into the first round or something like that?
He was supposed to be their guy to basically help Demko through the year, and then they would get rid of him, and then Demko would become the guy. And they couldn't keep Markstrom. So
Yeah.
But it is interesting to listen to the broadcast last night and the fact that they were basically making 1,000 excuses of why Vancouver was bad.
Brian Burke was not going easy on them.
Blaming salary caps and all that kind of stuff. So, but I feel bad. The one was Pedersen last night when they were talking about him and how he's not having the year that he's supposed to be, and he's supposed to be the leader of the team and all that stuff. But I just don't think he's getting support around him that he needs.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of pressure on him. He's a young guy, and he's a force, but that's a lot for him to. He doesn't have the supporting cast where we've got like the whole Matthews, Marner, and Nylander. You've got a bunch of guys that you can spread out that pressure on, and I think we're actually seeing that Matthews flourish a little bit this year because he's, you got Johnny T as the captain, and then he's sort of got this chance to do his own thing a little bit, and he certainly feels like he's an unofficial leader of our team, but I think it's because they can spread out that pressure, So,
but it is, man, that first goal of his, like, he has unbelievable hands. Like, it's just.
What about the hands on Wayne Simmonds?
Yeah. So sorry, I was like, is that 24 or 34? That first goal last night. I was like, what?
Second one.
Come on, man.
When you can stand there for 5 minutes and figure out where the net is, anybody can score from that.
I know.
That's like ball hockey goals,
Get him.
right, guy?
Wait, it's Simmonds, exactly. That was a ball hockey goal.
I think their biggest defenseman on Vancouver was like Chatfield or whatever his name is, and he was just bumping into Simmonds like he was like a pinball.
Yeah.
Don't shoot.
Like he was cemented in place.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to watch. Just the subtle things that him and Marner just do. They just glide over the blue line, and it's just like all of a sudden the puck's somewhere else, and you kind of go, how did it get there? And why is it back on his stick again? And then why is it in the net? So,
Yeah. He gets his own rebounds, and they seem to never stop moving. The worst thing that can happen is for the other team to set up the box, and then they've all of a sudden got to sort of stand on the outside and work it around. But when there's that constant movement and they're just pushing the puck and rotating it around, their ability, it seems, Marner and Matthews, especially, and of course Hyman, to just pick up their own loose pucks that have been dropped by other people. At one point, Matthews got a shot on net last night, then zipped back around behind the net, came out to the front of the net and picked up his own rebound and then continued on with the play.
Yeah.
There's like 9 other guys on the ice. How does he possibly get his own rebound,
Yeah.
Again, that sort of speaks to the earlier point of possibly a somewhat weak Vancouver defense.
There's all those turnovers, right? And then when you're turning it over like that, you're just constantly chasing the game. And then and that's what it looks like. They're just chasing it,
Pettersson, they showed a highlight reel of him just ringing him off the post. I mean, when you can't score and you're that good, it's just nothing's going your way. And I totally understand that about the team right now. Where is the team? The good question is, where is the team that was so exciting last year and that you thought could have ended up being a danger to some teams getting into the playoffs? They haven't changed that much. They just, on top of showing some obvious holes right now, they just lost their mojo. They're a better team than that.
There's some key guys that Tanev's gone, Markstrom's gone, Toffoli's gone, former Leaf Josh Levo's gone. I mean, Levo was probably the driving force on the team, right? So,
Please
those Vancouver
Levo. Levo.
Well,
nice one.
Talking about former Leafs, do we think Travis Green is the first coach that gets fired this year?
Yep, I do.
That's possible. I mean, there's also talk that they're not going to fire any coaches because they don't want to have to deal with paying somebody out and paying extra money when the teams are all sort of suffering financially. Just
to talk about the Wayne Simmonds fight as well, too, the one that he got into with Ben. Yep. It was pretty interesting that he knew when they switched hands. I think they said it was 13 unanswered blows with his right hand, and then when they went to go and switch to the other side, he kind of held his elbow up while he was getting hit. Well, yeah, just blocking. And then I'm thinking, hey, man, maybe they should start doing that, because that's got to be just the strikes to the plastic and the helmet and the knuckles. I wince when that happens, when you think about a guy the age, the hand injuries that they're talking about on the team and stuff, and just how unnecessary it is to strike a guy in the head. Yeah. Why would you do that when he's wearing a helmet? So it was kind of good to see those blocks come up. And I thought, I'd rather see that. I'd rather see a guy protecting himself than just trying to see if he can outlast the hits that he's getting.
What was the moment at the end of the fight, though, when he said they both said, "Nice fight,
nice job"? Oh yeah. It's gentlemanly fights, man. I'm digging Simmonds' whole sort of tough guy situation, because clearly he's not just a tough guy. I mean, he's got hands, he's got moves, he's moved up lines, he's fantastic. But when he fights, he throws down, and then it's okay, we're done. It was a hockey fight. Well done. Nice job. Quality guy.
Tim Smythe-Bishop, what do you think about the play of Spezza, and is he a guy that you'd like to have on the Vancouver Canucks?
Obviously Thursday was pretty amazing for him, but the thing about Spezza and that even the third or even the fourth line of the Leafs is the fact that once those first two lines roll through, those third and fourth are still really good coming off the bench for the Leafs. And man, if you got Spezza still skating like he is, playing on that fourth line or even third line, like how he just fits in and scores, it's pretty amazing right now. And he's got the kids, or I guess younger people around him to a certain degree. But yeah, he's a great pickup for the Leafs for sure.
I'm surprised at the impact. Like when they picked him up, I was like, oh, okay. And then I heard all the stuff about how he's such a student of the game and how he's so dedicated. And, you know, I probably ignored him a bit when he was in Ottawa because I'm like, Ottawa, you know, Battle of Ontario. Really impressed with him. And then mostly how you hear the other players talk about him and how his influence on them as far as his dedication to the game and how he trains and all that sort of stuff. And you see on the bench, Matthews and him chatting quite a bit now. And that's the other thing I've noticed just this season in general. A lot more talk on the bench. Those Babcock years, it sort of was like Marner and Matthews got their hands smacked when they were singing along with Bon Jovi. And then after that, they were like, okay, don't say anything, you know. And once sort of some of the fun guys like Matt Martin and stuff left, and the chatter on the bench went down. But now I think with Spezza and Simmonds, and those are talkative guys, and that kind of influence of those guys is great.
Yeah, I think the dressing room this year is way better than it has been. Spezza, beyond being obviously sort of the elder statesman and skill set and dedication and drive, like his dedication is going to seep into the dressing room now that it feels like a really cohesive team where, you know, he's not coming in there being like, I know how this works and you guys, I'm just, you know, running out my contract.
Well, he said when he was put on waivers, he's like, if anybody picks me up, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I guess
he wants to play here.
So I guess to your first question, Paul, to Tim, but would you want him on Vancouver? I guess, Tim, you could say yes, but it's probably he's not going to go.
Yeah, you'll never get him.
He would go, but I don't think he would fit in Vancouver.
Interesting.
I just don't think that team right now, as it is, needs that veteran experience on a third or fourth line. I think they need somebody slightly younger with a little bit of experience to fill in those gaps. Kind of, I think like last night they brought back Louis Eriksson, right? It's like they're trying to find somebody in that 27 to 30-ish kind of range that would just fit into the gap. Where Kirk was just saying, it's like the Simmonds and the Spezzas of the world are basically like the backbone of the Leafs, right? They're kind of keeping the kids close to the center so that they don't run off and just, you know, do something stupid. So and then the kids will actually come out and respect these guys and will play harder with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas if Spezza came out there, the guys out there would just look at him going, oh, they're bringing in the old guy. Mm-hmm. So he might not fit in necessarily as well as he does here at the Leafs.
I just remember seeing him last year, even when he was on the team, and all that stuff was going wrong with Babcock prior to that. And he still kind of stuck with it, you know, and he stayed with us, and you know, that he really wanted to play. You know, his release and his shot was what ended up surprising me, was that he still had this beautiful shot and the speed to get down the ice. So I remember he scored this one goal. So I Googled it, you know, shootout winner Spezza, and every single jersey he's ever worn in his career came up. You know, he does that everywhere he goes. I think that looking back at him now, we shine the spotlight on him, and in this perfect situation, like Bishop was saying, he's on this team that needs him to perform this certain role. He seems to be flourishing, but maybe we're also, you know, looking at a player that's just kind of always been this good. He's always had this ability. He really does. If you talk about how much I've been shitting on Mikheyev getting himself in a position to score and not finishing, well, Spezza is finishing.
It has to come up every episode. Is he still on your fantasy team, John?
Yes, I have both Mikheyev and Edler on my fantasy team.
Oh, congratulations.
Don't know where I am.
That's why I love the playoff pool with you, John. It's so fun to watch.
Babcock sits in that first game. It's a home opener against his former team on the team he always wanted to play for. Like, it's just a super dick move not to put Spezza in for that on the fourth line.
Bad dick.
The team hits their tailspin. Things are going horribly. The 3 games before Babcock gets fired, they're in that skid. Spezza comes in and he scores a goal in 2 of those 3 games. And so there's a thing to his character of like, this coach has been kind of crappy to you, hasn't played you very
Yeah.
much, whatever. You're coming in, and that was one of those. I think it was one of those games where either it was an overtime winner or one of those like quick releases where he whipped a shot, and I was like, oh man, I didn't realize his shot was that good.
Yeah.
Babcock gets fired, things change, and I think he's getting the appreciation that he deserves. And he's a classy, hardworking, super talented guy. Those 3 goals were awesome. A blast of a slap shot, that wrist shot that is like bar down, and then coming in with that dangle on the guy. I was like, those were
To
like,
even try that, it shouldn't have worked. You know what I mean? But the balls to try to walk around a guy
the forehand,
to the front of
backhand,
the net,
forehand, and holding on with patience and then throwing it in was a beauty goal. You know, it was Connor McDavid. That'd be the greatest goal of the year already. People would just be like, goal of the year, goal of the year.
3 stars and shout out for Jason Spezza, because I don't think it's a miracle. I think he's that good. So good for him.
John, any opinion on Spezza or concur?
Well, I was going to ask everyone a question of who is your favorite Vancouver Canuck of all time?
Oh, I don't know.
Wow, I should have thought
When
of
did
that.
Well, I'm
start
sorry,
again?
we're all
In
out
the
of
90s?
time. Apologies to Matt Damon.
Well,
Rick Lands.
yeah, Harold Schnaps.
Oh,
I don't honestly have an answer for this.
I'll tell you a Vancouver Canuck story. When I was about to be born, my parents were looking for a name for me, and my dad wanted to name me after his favorite Toronto Maple Leaf. And this guy, luckily for me, ended up being traded from the Leafs before I was born, and he ended up being a captain for Vancouver. Anyone think of who I was almost named after?
oh boy.
Orland Kurtenbach.
Oh yes. Oh man, I think we have a hockey card of his around here somewhere. Oh, we're gonna call you Orland from here.
Orland.
It was Orland. That's
Not
how
Orlando.
people said it too. It was like
Orland.
Newfoundland. It was Orland Kurtenbach.
Orland.
Oh, man.
Like, was that his
Oh,
middle
wow.
name? Was his first name C. Air Orland?
Yeah.
Pavel Bure is the greatest ever. He's got to be the greatest Vancouver Canuck ever.
Greater than the Sedins?
I think so. I mean, do you say the Sedins as a pair, or can you pick one? You know,
You
because
can't pick one. We were together.
Yeah.
You can go back to Richard Brodeur. He was probably one of the
I was just
better,
gonna say, yeah.
better goalies of the time.
That cup run, yeah, for sure.
My memory's not as good as it used to be, so I had to do a tiny little bit of research. In the 3 finals that they made it to, it was Luongo, McLean, and Brodeur.
Longo.
I'm gonna go with Longo as my favorite Vancouver Canuck ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being Leaf fans, Luongo could have been a Leaf.
Yeah.
Yep.
They traded a draft pick that would have put him in the
Right.
Leafs
Yeah.
lineup.
That would have changed a lot during those years, actually, I think.
Yeah.
Did you hear that stat last night that Luongo is the last goalie to win at the Air Canada Center for Vancouver?
Yeah, like
10 years
2000,
ago.
yeah, 2011. I didn't realize
Wow.
Well, anyway, the record still stands.
that.
And I'm pretty sure on Monday it'll probably continue to stand.
How do you feel about the all Canadian division, Tim? What's your take on it?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's even if Ottawa's not, holding up their end, they're still competitive in a lot of games, and they're working hard. At least I watched some of the highlights from last night's game, and they worked really hard, and they're trying every night kind of things. They're not giving up, and it's currently the only division that has actually played all their games.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because as Canadians, we're good at following rules. We just won't want to cause anybody any trouble.
Because you look at the standings in the other divisions and you kind of go, well, they've only played 8 games. How can they be first? And those guys have played 12. How can they be in last? It's a bit of a mess.
I do miss games though, like against Boston and New York and Detroit. Like those are good games.
We're gonna get tired, I think. Yeah.
The way Detroit's playing, I wish we played them every night. We could have a lot of games against Detroit.
Exactly.
Tim, aren't you a Detroit fan too, or am I making that up?
You're making that up.
Okay.
I am.
My father was a Ranger fan, so I have to be a Ranger fan too.
My backup team is I'm Detroit and Chicago as the two that I like as my other ones. So keeping it original 6 styles.
My backup team is very softly the Jets. I got some family in Winnipeg. That's literally the only reason.
John?
Probably The Nordiques, Colorado for me. From that era, I think really of Sakic, Owen, Nolan, Forsberg, that era. Patrick Waugh, obviously.
Not back to the
That's when I
Stastnys?
started watching them. Well, certainly those games against Quebec against Montreal were something to watch. That's for sure. And anybody that could beat up on Montreal better than us, I was gonna root for. So
That's fair.
Z, who's your non-Leaf team that you root for occasionally?
I think for similar reasons, it was Nordiques as well too. I like that they moved in right next to Montreal, and they were like, they became a competitive team. Great, Sundin came from there, and then to watch them move to Colorado, how exciting of a team they are right now. And I'm a huge Joe Sakic fan. So if the Leafs aren't playing or they were knocked out, which has happened, then I usually root for the Avalanche.
Tim, again, you weren't assigned the homework, obviously, as a guest, but we.
I love to listen.
All right. Well, so we basically had to decide what ex-Leaf that is still in the is that still active in the league we would bring back sort of permanently
as the do-over
to do-over to sort of help the team out. A one-nighter, the one-night stand, just because old time's sake, and the one that you would make sure that you had changed the locks and or moved, so they would never ever ever come back.
And they all still have to be active.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Tony Wask, long-time listener, first-time follower, who answered our Twitter poll with the sadly incorrect answer of Boreas Salming.
Well,
I didn't frame the question that they had to be active. So
but he's a Vancouver fan too, and all those guys are on mushrooms, right? Like I think that's the thing. Is that once you really get down to it, there's it's not really their fault.
that's true.
The altitude.
it's the psilocybin. It just gets in there. So start with the do-over that you want back on the bench and to stay. John, we kicked the feet out from under you, so you start.
Well, I'm wearing my Wellington Dukes hat because my do-over involves this gentleman.
Raycroft.
Oh, no way.
That's a surprise.
No. Duke said that's who we traded for Tuukka Rask. And, think of what the Leafs would have been like with Tuukka Rask all these years. I mean, oddly, we may not have got Marner. We might not have sucked enough to get those guys. But, to trade away somebody who's become not only a Stanley Cup winner, but a solid goalie for 10, 12 years on a competitive team. That's a do-over.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so Andrew Raycroft is the pride of the Wellington Dukes. I think he's the most notable player to take the NHL. He's my do-over.
I feel bad for Raycroft because that comparison comes up all the time. We could have had Rask.
He won the Calder. He won the Calder Cup. Like at the time, I think they knew Rask was going to be a good goalie, but they knew, after one season that Raycroft was already on his way. That's, I think, was the thinking. But
who's next?
I'll go next because it'll be short. I chose Kasperi Kapanen.
So that's he's coming back to the team to stay. New contract, signing him for 3 years. Yep. This is how it's going.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I think we let him go before he truly shone. I mean, we had a 20-goal season, we had a 13-goal season. I think he was on his way up. I think he's doing well in Pittsburgh right now, and I think if we brought him back, we might get some surprise out of him. I think he might wake up. He might not. Who knows? But that's what I'm going with, Kapanen.
Paul, commentary, please.
What, on Kapanen?
Yeah, hit me.
Oh, sorry. I thought he said Komarov.
I think that's the commentary right there.
I don't want to talk about Kapanen anymore because I don't get paid to. So that's it. I don't have to. He's not a Leaf anymore. I'm not going to argue with you.
I have to say, I honestly, part of that choice was, well, Paul won't like this.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. Well, no, I don't want to disrespect you. If that's the way you honestly feel, I don't want to say you're wrong and you're stupid.
This was one of 3 small spaces on a dartboard. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, to have him back on the team permanently would affect our team negatively. My choice.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah, I love it.
I can't. No, you got to go first, Baker, because it's going to be the same guy.
Oh, I don't know if it is, which is interesting. So that's cool. But
yeah,
maybe it is.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this week actually, and went through a bunch.
Did you?
It was an emotional roller coaster. Who you're getting back together with, like, and you got to think
I
about
know.
that, yeah, and you got to think of past indiscretions and like, can you get over that stuff? And like, oh man, when you break up with somebody, it's tough.
Yeah,
But
is it you or is it them?
yeah, and sometimes they leave, and you're like, good riddance. You didn't do some things we wanted you to do, or you caused some problems. But his heart's in the right place, and I would love to have him back. And I think he'd be the hell of a third line. Is Naz Kadri.
Interesting.
He's Toronto. He loves Toronto. Fans love him. He's got the grit. I was super frustrated with his choices in the playoffs, and I think he got a bit of the raw end of the deal on some of that with the suspensions. And I'm sure that led into that
old cross-check head to the boards thing,
Yeah, it's like, but he was bleeding, blue and white. I'm looking at it like, do you have Kerfoot as your third line center or Kadri? So I'd welcome him back, and I think it'd be pretty cool.
Interesting. I like.
Well, he's kind of like VD, right? If you want to think about that breakup and that kind of thing, it's like, great, everything's all good, but it just seems to come back at the most and sort of bubble to the surface.
We're not talking about Marinson. We're talking about Kadri.
Marinson's still with us. We tried to get rid of him, but
yeah. There's no penicillin to get that off the bench.
Yeah. There you go. I went with Naz.
I think I agree. I thought about Naz as well too, but signing a contract, you know what I mean? Let's say it's a 3-year deal. Connor Brown.
Wow.
I think I'd love to have Connor Brown back. Yeah, I think he'd be like a good, I think he's the kind of guy that could have stuck with the team for a long time on penalty kill and then developed a role. Yep. He had some skills. And then when I talk about Mikheyev and the frustrations I'm having with him right now, I think I'd rather have Connor Brown on the team to sort of play that role. And he had a lot left in him. And who knows, he might be one of those guys that kind of circles back.
I think you may have the best choice, actually, Paul.
Why don't we have Tim determine, who he figures won this round? Who do you think has made the best choice?
Nobody mentioned this guy who used to score a lot of goals called Phil Kessel.
Yeah. He came up. I thought about him.
Well, we're still paying him, so why not?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's really let himself go as well too since we broke up.
He was never that hot when we were dating.
That's true. Connor Brown has gotten hotter, so it's like, oh wow, great.
Just to spite us, I think.
Where is he right now?
Arizona.
And that explains it.
Remember that time with the All-Star team where they did the draft pick thing where the two captains picked all their players and Kessel was the last guy sitting in the chair?
Yeah.
Poor Phil. My favorite Phil Kessel soundbite is the interview with Pierre Maguire when he was getting back in shape. He'd been injured and he was out there doing laps and skating and stuff like that. And he sits down with Pierre Maguire. And Maguire says to him, like, so, hey, how's your breath? And Phil thought he was talking about, the smell. He's like, oh, it's not good, eh?
Pretty bad, eh?
He's like, no, I mean on the ice. It's like, oh.
How's your breath? It's not good, eh?
No, I meant in terms of conditioning.
Yeah.
All right, so around the horn again, John. Who are you going to sneak out on after one more date?
So my rational choice, is JVR. I'd love to see him in front of the net on the second power play. I was never quite sure why we let that guy go. But my, drunken irrational choice is Uncle Leo. I'd love to see Komarov bombing around there, a young Komarov bombing around there again.
Well, that's the thing with a one-night stand, right? Like for that night, you only remember them as the young, amazing, awesome.
Yeah.
He was so fun to have on the team. There's a highlight of him where I think it's against Washington, maybe. Matthews comes around and is going behind the net, dishes the puck out to Leo, and he taps it in. And whoever he's standing beside, the defenseman's like, what the hell? And Leo just pats him, like, it's okay, bud. It's okay, bud. Nobody would have got that. And the guy was livid. It was so good.
I went with Kadri for this one.
Good call.
Because again, he's full of fire, and he's out there. He's a real energy guy, and he's going to do something stupid and get suspended. So it's like a rocket. It's like fireworks. Launch it, burn it for one game, and just watch it explode. The end.
Just a hot mess, eh?
Yep, hot mess. But wow, fun to watch though, right?
That's a good call. That's a good call. This is good. I think Paul, you're going to like this one too. It's a one-nighter. He's such a great guy as well. Loved Toronto. Caught a break here made something out of a career that maybe nobody else would have given him the chance. He's our shootout king. Like, just so if you're going for one night, like, you gotta have that emotional, like, real a lot of fun. Tyler Bozak,
pray for overtime.
Pray for overtime. Put Bosey in. Like, when they didn't
get a shootout, man.
When they didn't pick him for a shootout, I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, he's just like, it's always going in.
Nice.
The Bozer. Nice. How about you, Paul?
I said Komarov too. I thought, for that sort of road trip, one night only, kind of have fun. I really liked Komarov, and I thought I understood why he was the kind of guy that you could let go if you needed to. But at the same time, if you were to come back for a night, I think you'd know exactly what you're going to get. And when then he delivered it, it would be a lot of fun. So Leo Komarov,
nice.
Please come back for one night.
Nice. To bring the Vancouver Canucks in here, the ultimate one night stand was the return of Matt Sundin when he scored that goal for the Canucks, the overtime, shootout goal.
Yeah.
I swear, like, all of the ACC was cheering for Mats and not the Leafs that night.
Oh yeah.
I love watching that clip. It's that thing of like, we know you're with somebody else now, but we still love you.
We still love you. Yeah. Yeah. When Dad comes home to clean out the garage, you're still happy to see him, even if you're living with Mom. And Mr. Smythe-Bishop, your thoughts? A one-nighter.
Of that list, Komarov is obviously the obvious choice. But if you were going to bring somebody in just because, say, Anderson was down, you definitely want to bring in Rask for those couple of playoffs games.
Logical choice, Tim.
Yeah, logical. West Coast.
John, who are you going to be absolutely sure doesn't have the keys anymore?
I hate to pick on this guy, but Jake Gardiner. Like, the error of seeing him with a mental confidence meltdown out there, it gave me fits, and that throw away the key.
Yeah, he was crazy.
He's the Larry Murphy of his generation, right? Somebody who just lost it out there confidence-wise.
Yeah. I love the Larry Murphy throw from John, because that's yet another ex-Peterborough Pete connection that seems to always come up.
So insightful.
So very deep. We're deep. That's what you get here on the Power Dump. You get deep.
It's true. Yes.
I'd say that there was microdosing last night, but there might have been some microdosing last night.
Yeah. There was nothing micro about my dosing last night. It was just dosing.
I took February off. Did I tell you guys?
From microdosing or from drinking?
I drink coffee, but that's it.
You picked the shortest month of the year to go dry. Is that what you do?
Of course.
That's the point.
Of course. Yes. Again, just making smart choices.
Low bar. Low bar.
It's a month. It's a metric month.
Yeah. I think low bar was the option or the other name for this podcast, but I had to go with Power Dump. Comrie.
I know we've been using him as the sort of touchstone of terrible, but Cody Ceci. See you, bud. Forget where we live.
I thought you were going to pay Kadri for every category.
I tried to get him back for a long term. It turned into a one night stand. So you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you.
No, I'm not narrating my previous life, Paul. Yeah, so I went with Cody Ceci.
Well, we just lost a subscriber.
I'm going to side with John on this one. The removal of Jake Gardiner reduced my stress level significantly. It was one of those guys who was so polarizing with the fan base. Like, some people loved him, and I'd always be like, how can, like, he'd have a couple of great passes, but then there would be these just bonehead moves. So happy to see him go, and I think we're better for it.
Well, Paul, who you got?
Hey, man, you know what's horrible is that you think you have this idea in your head of who you're going to pick, and then you see what everybody else orders, and it comes to the table, and you say, can I change my order? So it's just, man, stomping on Gardner just looks like it tastes so good. And it's true. You know who always pissed me off is the most random thing is Daniel Winnick. I don't know about that guy, but like, I think he's still playing someplace, but he just let me down. There was something about the thought that when he was coming, I thought, okay, this is what we need at the time. He's a little bit of stay-at-home guy, and he's going to be solid. And then he wasn't even that. So that kind of bothered me about him all the time. I'm like, I gave you a low bar, dude, and he was okay and things. But when he was gone, I was like, okay, I'd rather see one of our youthful guys come up into the lineup. And, so now that I've got this, how can I compare it to Jake Gardner? It's just
I'm going to tell you right now, you ordered wrong. Order Gardner.
I lost this round. Yeah,
way better. You lose this round.
I don't know. Kapanen, even the same kind of thing. It's like,
you better stop talking shit about Kapanen now, because we're back together.
oh yeah.
I appreciate you having my back earlier, but now we're back together, so it's awkward. Tim, what do you say? Anything?
Well, listening to everybody said over the past 3 rounds kind of thing, and remembering all the players and all that good stuff, the guy I really didn't like, and I know he's good and all that stuff, I never liked Kadri. I think he didn't fit the Leaf mold to a certain degree. He was too far to the one side of crazy, and they didn't necessarily need that side of crazy. So I wouldn't want him back.
That's fair. And I've actually been influenced. I don't want to get back together with him now either. Maybe it's more of a one-night stand.
Yeah, he's a one-nighter, though, because that kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Come on.
But was he like Matthew Tkachuk crazy at the time? You know what I mean? Like a guy that could really stir things up and go a little too far, but he also had the skills to back his stuff up. And if you fought him, he'd fight you. He might not be like, so I think about a player like that right now. And if you ask me if I wanted him back, for certain purposes, it'd be great, but not in this team right now. It's kind of like we've outgrown him and gone beyond, but
well, he added so much personality to stuff too at that time when we kind of needed it. Like him, that Jumbo Joe fight where he pulls out a chunk of his beard. It's like, well, I've never seen that in hockey before. Like that was just, and he's going to do stuff like that. So there was entertainment value in the way that sort of Uncle Leo brought entertainment value and personality to the team.
We all know Tim's still smarting from the Rick Vive Builder Lego trade for Tiger Williams and Jerry Butler back in the day.
Yeah, I was almost going to vote Tiger Williams as my favorite Vancouver Canuck of all time, but
such a good golfer. Wait, Tim, thank you very much for being on our pod today.
Thank you very much.
This was fantastic. Come back anytime. Every time we thump your team, you're welcome back.
Very much.
They're going to win one this season for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, they got some Ottawa games coming.
I mean, against us. What is it?
Oh,
nine games we got to play each other. So something like that.
So this week we play Vancouver one more time, right? And then 2 against Montreal.
2 Montreal, yeah.
I think Vancouver's going to give us a harder time on Monday.
I hope so. Root for you, Tim. Root for you.
I need it for my pool.
You've been listening to the Leafs Power Dump right here wherever you listen to your podcasts or watch your podcasts or listen to your podcasts. Whatever it is you're doing with us. So thanks. Is anyone going to mention the merch?
Check out our merch.
Yeah.
Leafs Power Dump Podcast is Kirk Comrie, Chad Maker, Paul Zimick, and John Galway. Copyright 2021 Firewallet Productions.